What does the word feminism represent to you?
Well, it's kind of morphed a lot over the years, and I think right now I don't necessarily like what it represents. I think when it first started, it was talking about women having a voice, women having equal pay for equal work. It was about women finding their place in the community of the world. And hey, listen, we're the mothers, we're the daughters, we're the sisters, and we need to have voice, we need to have influence. But then it kind of went into the men are our enemy. The men are our problem. And I felt like it morphed into, if you want to be powerful as a woman, you need to act like a man. And I don't want to act like a man. I want to know what it is to be a powerful woman. And I think a lot of our gender confusion and problems has been because we have a culture that dishonors the men and sexualizes the women. And so when you dishonor men and sexualize women, and when women act like men start to act like boys. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not blaming the women. I'm just saying it's what happens. And so women need to actually really understand that there is a God-ordained authority on them as women. Because the church says you have no authority as a woman. You're just accessory to your husband or an accessory to the males in the church. And that's not healthy either. So I think that I am more about the feminine soul and the feminine voice and what that looks like, because I don't feel that we celebrate one gender to the expense of the other. We shouldn't celebrate men at the expense of women or celebrate women at the expense of men. And gender is created to express God's image in this earth, male and female. And what we've done is we've mishandled it, and the culture has responded by blending the genders.
So what do we do then? How do we react as women? What's an appropriate, honourable way to react when our leaders, maybe it's church leaders or heads of state, authority figures in general, when they're not encouraging the general public and men to respect, or they're not encouraging fairness for women? Because this is an issue, particularly politically, that we've seen a lot recently, where political figures have been speaking down to women or whatever it is. Like, how should I react as a person? What would be a really biblical or good way to do that?
Well, it's not going to, this would be my vantage on this. When we've all been spoken down to as women, whatever that realm is, whether it's in the church, whether it's in politics, whether it's in the business world, whatever it is. But when you go down to their level and demand that you be respected just merely because you're a woman, I think that we end up playing their game. The Bible says, answer not a fool according to their folly, lest they think they're wise in their own eyes. I think actually becoming exceptional at what we do and creating opportunities for women outside of what the world isn't. They're saying, hey, you can't play our game. We'll say, you know what? I'm not going to force my way in. I'm just going to set a new table. I'm going to just create opportunities for women in other settings. And here's, we're in America right now, we're seeing a lot of women coming together and rally about being victims. Well, I think we could come together and rally about being valuable and somehow make it so compelling that they want us to be at the table. And I know that sounds a little frustrating. Sometimes we need to not let them make it about us individually and move beyond what God has entrusted us with, whether that's the ability to innovate, the ability to lead, the ability to preach, the ability to write. Our answer isn't going to come from people. It's going to come from God. Promotion doesn't come from the east, the west, or the south. It comes from the north. It comes from God Most High. And so again, I think this is a time to be very strategic, but also wise.